to touch road again and know that it didn't take some deep plummet to the bottom. You know, it was just, it was bigger than ever. I think by the time he came out.
Yeah, even musically, it sounded like you changed as well, because it's like if you listen to your old records, it sounds like someone's doing a bad impersonation of you. And it's like fast forward, it sounds like night and day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you used to stretch out the vowels. Like let's be honest.
Yeah.
But you know, moving forward, it changed. Was that stemming from that situation with Wayne? And
I think that was just the times, man. It was like finding myself. You know, you can always hear a rapper finding themselves if you give them more than like 5 or 10 years. You know. So yeah, I mean, I used to rap like Button back in the day, just with the way I used to try and get like certain flows off, and then you know when I met Wayne, I realized the goal was to like get bars off, but also have these catchy nuances that people can grasp onto. Right. And I think a big thing that changed my music too was understanding the performance element. So to watch what records work on tour for Wayne, or to start doing my own shows and see, okay, like cool, you know, like I do love to make, you know, R&B music, slow music, melodic music, but like, man, it feels good to have one of those slappers. Like, it feels good to have people screaming those words back at you, and they start moshing and they start going crazy. And you know, again, your appetite starts to grow, and R&B music or songs like Best I Ever Had, you know, aren't enough to satisfy the palate. You want more, you know, you want to tap into different things. And I think I'm, you know, probably the biggest case of that, where it's just like, I've almost left no genre untouched at this point. But that's also just because, you know, like it's been quite a while, and I like to also enjoy what I'm doing. I mean, I still love making music, and part of loving it is a challenge, right? Like I need new challenges. So, you know, people often question like, oh, why, you know, all of a sudden you're switching your accent or making this type of music. It's not that, it's just, you know, at the end of the day, I can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again, because one, you'll get used to it and then you'll be over it. And two, for me, it's like, you know, I want to try my hand at something, and you know, I don't really think I fucked it up yet. You know, so that's a good.
You mentioned Best I Ever Had. That was your first, I guess, legitimate, like serious hit, right? Like, how did that change your life? And like, it's interesting. A lot of times, the song that breaks a hip hop artist through may not even be in the set list anymore, but that's the record that was like the record that changed everything for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Best I Ever Had was I remember, I don't know if we told this story before, but I remember that.
It's okay, Drake, it's the Rap Radar.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't want to be repetitive with the stories, but I'll never forget, it was Rich Paul that was telling me that Uptown was the single, right?
Like that little...
No, sorry. It was me telling him that Uptown, I was like, yo, Uptown is the one. This is what we should go with. And he was like, yo, nah, like, what are you talking about? This other one is the one. Yeah, I mean, it was just, you know, for lack of a better term, it was the definition of like 0 to 100. Like, that shit went crazy. And, you know, at a time when, you know, Hot 97 was thriving and radio was thriving. And yeah, that brought in all the like, you know, my first like celebrity admirers, like other artists and other, you know, famous people just showing me that they were listening, which is obviously, you know, through G. Roberson at the time, which is how we got Ye to do the video. And yeah, it just started feeling like, I mean, that was the first, like, if you watch that video, I'm so scared I can't even rap into the camera. I'm looking anywhere else but at the lens. But, you know, that day, probably shooting that video, was the first time I was like, oh shit, like I'm a rapper in the rap game now. Like, this is happening.
When did you click with the whole So Far Gone project that was gonna be your breakthrough? That was your third tape, right? Like, did you feel like this was, you were getting better as an artist and this was a different?
Yeah, I knew when we were finishing up at, I knew when we were finishing up the tape at we finished recording the tape in the Beverly Hills Hotel, because at the time, Wayne used to live like a sheikh, like a prince. Like, he used to have no, seriously, he used to have like probably like what, 30, 40 rooms at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Damn. Wow.
Or is it the Beverly Wilshire? They had a Beverly Wilshire hotel. He used to have like 30, 40 rooms, open room service. Like, you know, like you could order a Dom
That's
three and a
everybody.
steak.
That's crazy.
So yeah, at the time, you know, he was just posted up. He was posted up in LA, and we were posted up too. So we decided, you know, we were gonna finish the tape out there, and that was where, you know, we did like Bria's interlude, where like Omarion came through and did his piece, and yeah, I remember. I think there's actually a clip of it. I don't know if 40 has it or if it's online, but we were all in the hotel room, and Jackie Long was there, and we were all toasting to this tape. And I remember I went out to the car. I think it was like a BMW, like 645 or whatever. And me and 40 just played the tape fully front to back in the car. And I remember we just looked at each other like, yo, I think this is it. This is really about to happen for us, you know. That really showed me like, you know, what it is to have an album with like, you know, 7 or 8 joints on it that I know people are like, they have to be invested in this. There's no way, you know, there's no way they could just ignore this. Yeah. You know, starting with like Lust for Life, like I knew from that intro, like this doesn't sound like anybody else or anything else. And
Say You Will
yeah,
freestyle.
yeah, Say You Will. Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously like coming.
Because that became its own movement at the shows. Like, how did that develop? You remember?
Well, yeah, once people started sharing the tape, like at the time, you know, back in those days, it really had to spread from word of mouth. Right. You know, it really, you know, it was still people playing the CD in their car. And it was that whole "who is this" moment, which is, by the way, the best moment for any artist in music. You know,
you think even today? It's still
fresh?
Don't
ever not like just be present in your "who is this" moment, because you're gonna be chasing that "who is this" moment for the rest of your career, trying to keep people as interested as they were when they felt like they were one of the only people listening to you. So if they were gifted the music from a friend just by being in the same car, and now they've taken So Far Gone with them back to their school or their neighborhood, and they started, you know, share. That was the beauty of back in the day, when it wasn't like, you know, so readily accessible and new stuff dropping every day. And you know, still I think there are people who scour all platforms to find that next wave and that next sound, and I still get joy out of getting new music from friends of mine or sharing.
Discovery.
Yeah, but your "who is this" moment is a big moment. So for all new artists, please be present in that moment, because it does escape you, and you'll be trying to get it back forever. So, but your question was "Say You Will."
I just remember I started seeing like on the Now Rights and all that, be like, you waited to see you do the freestyle to Say You Will, and the crowd would just go crazy. And
well, I think it was also because I made that a part of the show that was unpredictable. So at the time, I was legit, you know, sometimes I would, you know, do the first few bars and then switch it, or I would genuinely just freestyle with the auto-tune, you know. So I think people started being like, oh, what's gonna be said tonight? But yeah, a lot of those things picked up, and even just like solidifying my relationships with places like, you know, Houston, Atlanta, Vegas really solidified my relationship with Houston, Texas, obviously, as well as November 18th. Right. Yeah. But, you know, expressing my admiration and love for that place, because it, you know, it has such a it's such a big piece of all my realization that this was happening. You know, I mean, me and Wayne, I know I've told this story before. Me and Wayne, you know, met at the Hotel Derrick. That was the first place I'd ever really flown out of Canada for anything besides Degrassi. So I flew to Houston, and you know, I went on the bus, and Wayne was getting the biggest tattoo, bleeding out with like black ink. I was like the most like, I was just like, yo, this is crazy. Yeah. And then I remember just sitting there and like, I'm looking up, and like Kobe Bryant walks on the bus, you know, to get his like Carter 3 iPod, because he wanted to get the album early. But you know, so Houston was a big part of my story, and the first time my eyes got really wide. Right. So yeah, I think that tape was also important in solidifying relationships like that. Solidifying the fact that I can do more than one thing was a big deal too. Like, you know, with A Night Off and Bria's interlude, and then, you know, having the bars from Say What's Real, or, you know, the Uptowns or whatever, just showing people that, you know, this is going to be an exciting artist to pay
that
attention
balance
to.
of singing and rapping, like I don't think you saw John Caramonic.